for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props, or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk facts.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
Play it on the car ride, play it when you lounge. X and O, you know that we can hold it down. Shout out to my man Sammy, got it off the ground. And to all the listeners tuned in right now, got debates, analysis, and speculation. This is sports talk for the new generation. You know where to find us, got a reputation. Sick podcast, your #1 sports destination.
Giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
S-I-C-K, it's the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props, or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk back. S-I-C-K,
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 S-I-C-K.
All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
S-I-C-K, it's the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props, or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk facts.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
Play it on the car ride, play it when you lounge. X and O, you know that we can hold it down. Shout out to my man Sammy, got it off the ground. And to all the listeners tuned in right now, got debates, analysis, and speculation. This is sports talk for the new generation. You know where to find us, got a reputation. Sick podcast, your #1 sports destination.
Giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
S-I-C-K, it's the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props, or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk back. S-I-C-K,
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 S-I-C-K.
S-I-C-K.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast. With Tony Marinaro.
55 seconds left in the penalty, a minute and 27 seconds left in regulation time. Boston 4, Montreal 3. Lafleur coming out rather gingerly on the right side. He gives it into Lemaire, back to Lafleur.
The sickest Montreal Canadiens podcast.
You're in the spot!
Sports entertainment like no other.
Rejoint, on lui fait perdre la rondelle, une passe devant. Et c'est le dégagement et ce sera la victoire des Canadiens. Coupe Stanley pour les Canadiens. Le 23e de l'histoire.
You found the dogs! John, you found the dogs! He found the dogs! And all together, they worked a young team to the top. And now, a 24th Stanley Cup banner will hang from the rafters of the famous Forum in Montreal. The Canadiens win the Stanley Cup!
Brought to you by Energy Transportation Group. Driven to be different. Tibi. Embrace your true nature. And Locage. If the last time you went to Locage was when the Habs won the Cup, it's time you went back to Locage. It's gonna be sick.
Marinaro, the Sick Podcast, and of course, it is Monday, February 6th. It's 3 minutes past 10 p.m. Eastern, and the Sick Podcast brought to you in part by Energy Transportation Group, a leading full-service logistics provider serving all of North America, driven to be different. Also brought to you in part by Lacage. If the last time you went to Lacage was when the Habs won the Cup, it's time you go back to Lacage. The menu will surprise you, and also brought to you in part by, yeah, you just heard it, La Bittt at Tibi, brewed in Quebec and a winner of a dozen international awards. It offers a quality microbrewery beer made with premium ingredients for everyone's taste. La Bittt at Tibi. Embrace your true nature. I know we're very excited about it. I am, especially because I was told that I'm going to be delivered some tomorrow. Isn't that pretty cool, huh? So I'm looking forward to that. I'm also looking forward to talking to Jeremy Filosa because he joins us now. He joined us a couple of days ago, and the reason why he did is because he was in South Florida where the NHL was having their NHL All Star Weekend. He was there for Media Day on the Thursday. He was there for the skills competition on the Friday. He was there for the All Star Game on the Saturday, and he's also there for CF Montreal's preseason camp, which has now moved to Florida for the next several weeks. So he's there, and who more fitting to talk to than him? So we'll get to it right now. Jeremy Filosa, what's going on?
Just chilling on the balcony here in Florida. Beautiful night in South Florida, as always. So who's better than me?
Nobody. You're always very, very happy when you're in Florida. Hey, today I saw, and I think it was off of CF Montreal's Twitter account, the players were on the beach and they were playing volleyball and stuff like that. And who knows, maybe a little bit of soccer, tennis too. I don't know. But I know they were playing volleyball. And they zoomed in on Romel Kyoto. And Kyoto was like, this is the life. And this is what we've been talking about, right? If you're a professional hockey player, you're a professional soccer player, you're a professional athlete, you have a chance to play in Florida, either in Tampa or in South Florida. You got to admit, it is the life, man. Like anyone could say, whatever they want about Montreal. Yeah, South Florida is pretty hard to pass up.
Absolutely, especially in the winter. You just walk out of your apartment with your flip-flops and, walk to training. And they got all these fields now here at, the Inter Miami stadium complex. They got all these fields outside. The grass is beautiful. It smells great. It's nice and sunny as always. So yeah, I mean, why wouldn't you want to be down here? It was funny because at the All Star Game, I had a chance to talk to the Tkachuk brothers, and Brady Tkachuk said, I talk to my brother pretty regularly. The conversation is usually, he's getting in his flip flops and driving to the rink, while I'm up here in Ottawa shoveling snow. So completely different lifestyle.
Yeah, no, it really is. All right, I want to talk to you about the Tkachuk brothers because I want to talk to you about All-Star Weekend. Yeah. I mean, I've made my my comments known via social media, and earlier this morning on the
radio, I heard you
on BPM Sport radio and on TVA Sport television. I think it was just a total disaster. I think it was embarrassing for the National Hockey League. I think it was embarrassing for the players. I think it was embarrassing for the product. It's very, very clear that the National Hockey League is not very creative. It's very clear to me that they have terrible storylines. It's very clear to me that there was either very little effort put in or they just talk to people who aren't very smart. It's very, very clear to me that the players did not give their 100%. It looked like they didn't even give their 70%. And, a weekend that's supposed to, and for all those who say, oh, no, it's all about fun, whatever. No, it was not fun. But here's the thing. The National Hockey League, it's not very strong in the United States of America, right? Football is so much stronger. Baseball is stronger. Basketball is stronger. Heck, the MLS is more popular in the United States than the National Hockey League. The National Hockey League, albeit a little thing for maybe us in Canada, that NHL All Stars weekend, it has to be a very, very big thing for the National Hockey League. And they had a window. They had a chance to showcase their talent. They blew it, Jeremy. They blew it. And you know that more than me. You were there.
Yeah. I mean, listen, Friday night was a complete disaster. There was absolutely no ambiance in the building, 2,000 to 3,000 empty seats. The hosts were trying to make jokes with the players. It was not funny. Nobody is reacting. A lot of the guests, the league had 7,000 to 8,000 guests on hand. And a lot of these people obviously probably don't watch hockey very closely because when we were introducing the players, nobody was reacting in the building. It was really bad. I got to say, listen, there are a few things that I actually appreciated. I like the fact that they try to have these little contests that are pre-filmed, that have something to do with the city that they're in. I didn't mind the chip and putt. I didn't mind the shooting on the surfboards. I thought that was fine. The thing is, it's very poorly packaged. You could get the whole thing done in about 2 hours and get out of there. Honestly, you start a competition, you don't finish it, then it finishes later. You can't really follow what's going on. A lot of long pauses, breaks where you're sitting there, nothing's happening. I don't get that. And I mean, listen, pretty much from beginning to end, it was pretty lame. And even the games, Tony, on Saturday, it's as if players would jump on the ice and would try to gauge what level of effort are we putting here? Is it 2, 3, 4? I don't know. You're going on a breakaway. I'm able to stop you, but should I? Or should I even try? Or should I not try? It was pretty pathetic, honestly.
So, I remember some NHL skills competitions, Jeremy. I used to be a big, big fan of the NHL skills competition, right? I remember 1990, the relay, the 3-man relay. Gretzky was man number 2, and Lemieux was man number 2 on the 3-man relay, right? And Gretzky and Lemieux started right before Gretzky. Gretzky finished just ahead of Lemieux. It was amazing. I remember the 1992 skills competition where it was a tie and they went to a breakaway shootout. And I think they went like 8 or 9 rounds deep. And it was Patrick Roy versus Eddie Belfour. Patrick Roy gave up 1 goal to Steve Yzerman. Eddie Belfour gave up 2 goals to Jaromir Jagr and to Mario Lemieux. It was epic. I remember the skills competition in 1993. I remember that Kirk Muller, the players back then were taking slap shots within 12 feet, like dead square in front of the goalies within 12 feet, and they were making them rip. Players wanted to score. Goalies wanted to make the save. It was very competitive. You had that professional pride. You had that personal pride. I don't know what's happened 30 years later. It's an absolute disaster. But I'm going to disagree with you on one thing, okay? Who said you were a fan of, the chip competition, which was on the golf course, okay? Jeremy, what other sport has an all-star weekend, okay, and they get off of their court or their pitch or their field to go on to a court or a pitch or a field of another sport?
Well, listen, you know what? Well, you could either look at it as they're the only ones who do it, they're stupid, or they're the only ones who do it, and other leagues are going to follow after. Last year, Tony, the skills competition in the NHL drew better ratings than the NBA skills competition. Last year. This is the truth. So they're trying to be creative. They were in Vegas last year. Remember, They had the whole thing in the fountain. Suzuki was actually involved in that. Listen, I mean, it's a show. It's a show for the people. But listen, if you're a real hockey fan, this weekend is not for you. It's not for you. It's to try to get eyeballs from people who don't usually watch or follow hockey to get noticed. And they'll pull out all the tricks from the hat to try and get noticed by people who have never watched a hockey game in their life. But in the end, it's pretty lame. Let's say the truth. It's pretty lame.
You talked about the dunk competition. Okay, Jeremy, let's go to the dunk competition. Once again, you leave the ice, you go outside, you're wearing your flip-flops or your running shoes or your loafers. You're trying to hit surfboards, okay? Goalies are shooting with their goalie stick. And in the end, the big payoff is if on a day that's 28 and sunny, you get to dunk somebody in like a box of refreshing water, like as if that's the biggest punishment ever. It actually looks like it's a gift that you're. And the props. And Mitch Marner wearing the Miami Vice suit.
The props were terrible.
PK Subban calling him out. Yeah, PK, do you have what I need? Yeah, I got. You come out.
It was
and he comes
terrible.
Out, and then PK's like, ladies and gentlemen, Roberto Luongo. And it's like there's no reaction. And Marner's taking a penalty, like a shootout attempt on Luongo. He doesn't even try. Disaster.
Yeah, disaster. Actually, I got to say, Roberto Luongo, being introduced to the fans was one of the only moments the building actually erupted. It lasted, Tony.
Oh, really?
Maybe 5 seconds. Maybe 5 seconds. That's about it.
It didn't feel that way on television, but I'm happy to hear that. I mean, after all, he's from there and he played there.
Exactly. And I got to say, the Panthers players got a little bit more of a reaction. The Tampa Bay Lightning players were booed. But that's about it. That's all we got, basically. But listen, I miss the good old days, like you said, where you had Clarence Campbell playing against the Conference of Wales and the brown and orange uniforms. Those were the good old days. And like you said, players actually tried to score. They actually tried to win. But now it's a business, and the first thing they think of is, let's just not get hurt. Let's not get hurt. Let's not get hurt. And to tell you the truth, Cale McCall almost got hurt going around the net. He smashed into the boards at one point. Thank God no damage was done. But that's the thing, is you can't really play hockey without intensity because it looks foolish. It just looks bad.
And you talked about Cale Makar slipping, which obviously that can happen to anybody, but that was like a bad omen to the whole thing, right? One of the best skaters in all of hockey, a top 3 skater in the world, 30 seconds into the NHL skills competition, he's in the fastest skater award, and he falls, right? He trips and he falls.
But I got to give the NHL credit. Give the NHL credit. They had cushions all around the boards.
Yeah.
And he went into the cushions and nothing happened to him. I never even thought they would even think of doing that. So credit to them for
Jeremy,
that.
You know why they did it, right? Because a lot of NHL players didn't want to take part in the fastest skater competition because they thought, you know what, I might end up pulling my groin over here. I'm not going to force 2. If you actually end up falling, you could get hurt. Look, and the entire world wanted to see Connor McDavid in the fastest skater competition. And Connor McDavid, he got himself out of it when he was asked about it. He said, you know what? I've been in the fastest skater competition before. Why don't I give a chance to somebody else? You just got the feeling he didn't want to do it, though. Like it didn't look good.
Yeah.
And
you know what? That skill, that they started at the beginning and they ended it at the end. And I thought exactly what you just said. Somebody's going to get hurt here. Somebody's going to pull a groin. Somebody's going to be – because these guys are cold, right? They're just sitting around. Yeah. They're not skating. So, like, I'm thinking to myself, fastest skater? All right, let's go. Put the guys in. Let them do the thing. And let's move on to the next thing. Don't start one and end it later. When Marner took the shot on Luongo, we thought that was the start of the breakaway competition. Then they went to commercial. They came back later. In the building, it was completely deflating. And at one point, the hostess, she actually says on the microphone, "What an electric crowd we had here tonight." and we're looking at each other like, I've never seen an NHL building this dead. This dead.
Wow.
Even at the Bell Center when the Habs are getting killed these last couple of years. It was just dead.
How about when PK is with Sidney Crosby and Alex Ovechkin, and that was a nice touch to bring them out together. Yeah. But then PK says we have a special guest. Crosby ends up giving it away that it's actually Ovechkin's son that's joining.
Right.
I mean, I even thought they got the whole autograph thing wrong, that they're, with a silver Sharpie that they're autographing on top of the black part of the jersey. Like everything that could have. And what are they trying to do with David Pastrnak with the little Happy Gilmore stick to tap the puck into the empty net 3 feet away? Is there anyone who thought that was entertaining or that was funny?
I don't know. It was bad. It was just bad. Was it last year where they had players in the stands shooting pucks into the net on the other side? That was pretty good. I thought they were going to keep that, but no. The sketches were terrible.
Terrible.
Like, if you're gonna do that, hire professionals. Hire Cirque du Soleil. As you mentioned on the radio, hire people from the WWE. Do something, because the sketches made no sense. They were not funny. And I think it was embarrassing also for the players because they knew how badly they were scripted, to tell you the truth.
Get the WWE involved. Nobody writes storylines better than them.
Get Crosby to like elbow Ovechkin and then tag team him, and then they get back and then the son comes in and pins him. I don't know. Do something. But I got to say, the Ovechkin and Crosby was a nice moment this weekend. Suzuki mentioned after the All Star Game that the one thing he's going to remember is lining up at the face-off circle against Crosby and Ovechkin playing together. They had a few tic-tac-toe goals. And to tell you the truth, I was around them a lot this weekend because the way it was set up here in Florida is the media workroom was between the two dressing rooms. The two conference rooms were also between those dressing rooms. So we saw the players going in and out of dressing rooms, talking, chatting the whole weekend. And Crosby and Ovechkin were actually pretty friendly. Ovechkin explained last week that they have gotten closer over the last couple of years. They're not the two roosters they used to be when they were young, where they were, always going against each other. Now they're veterans. I think they recognize what each other has done in their careers. Yeah. And they said that they text each other regularly. So, I think, I spoke to my son after the game, and that's the one thing he appreciated. And he's 14 years old, and he didn't think it was that great. So if you're striking out with the young fans, I mean, that's the say it all at the end.
And they've probably got closer because look, their careers, they got a couple of years left, and that'll be it. Crosby's won his 3 cups already. Ovechkin's got a cup, so Crosby's going to end up being known for his 3 cups at least, and his 200-foot game and his all-round game. Ovechkin's going to be known possibly as the guy who's going to go end up, beating Wayne Gretzky's record of 894 goals. So they both got their cups. It's out of the way. Ovechkin says when all is said and done, Sid and I are going to go out and we're going to end up having a beer together, which they probably had at this past weekend, because I remember when it was in Montreal, I went out and the players definitely get out that weekend and have a couple of beverages. Let's put it that way. It's funny because I remember that the night of the skills competition, right after the skills competition was over, all the guys went out to have a beverage and enjoy Montreal for what it is, right? And I remember I was at the establishment they were at because I went there for networking purposes, right? And the night ended pretty late, early on in the morning. And I remember the next day at the morning skate, a bunch of players were falling and they were blaming their skates. And it was pretty funny because those were the players that, they ended up having a long night the night before. Anyway, I thought that was pretty funny. What do you make of, and I have to tell you, I'm going to be totally transparent with you.
Yeah.
It didn't hit me in the moment, but I read a tweet on Friday, either it was Friday night or Saturday. I read a tweet, or maybe even Sunday. I don't remember. I read a tweet this past weekend from Dominic Hasek. Did you see it?
Yes.
And Dominic Hasek basically said the National Hockey League dropped the ball by having Alexander Ovechkin's son, they're part of the whole thing. And he said it's a slap in the face to everyone in Ukraine after obviously everything that's transpired between Russia and Ukraine. And, a lot of people came back and said, what does Ovechkin's son have to do with this? Okay. He obviously has nothing to do with the war between Russia and Ukraine. But, let's be honest here. It's well documented that Alexander Ovechkin is a huge supporter and friend of Vladimir Putin. And so I understand it. I get it. What do you make of it?
Yeah, I mean, listen, the thing is, don't involve this 4-year-old kid in the conversation. You want to go after Ovechkin, that's fine. You understand? You want to go after the fact that the NHL, went out of their way to give Ovechkin a certain spotlight this weekend. That's fine. That's all fair in games. Don't involve a 4-year-old kid. The kid doesn't know what's going on. The kid's just there to have fun. To tell you the truth, I thought his son was on the ice a little bit too much. You guys maybe didn't notice it because they were focusing on whatever event was taking place. But aside from that little 3-on-0 against Luongo, he was pretty much on the ice skating around while the other guys were there. I mean, all other guys have kids too. Nobody brought their kids on the ice. You understand what I'm saying? So it's like you want to have that little skit, fine, but then get him off the ice. You know what I'm saying? It's not his place to be there. That's what I think. But in the end, for the political reasons, obviously it's not my thing to say. Gary Bettman actually commented that on Saturday morning. I was there at his press conference. He said that Hasek has been very tough on the NHL on this subject for a while, and that he respects his opinion and he's allowed to have his opinion. That's basically what he said.
Yeah, I hear you. All right, okay. Sidney Crosby had an opinion too, and it's regarding the NHL playoff format. And he wants it to go back to the team that finishes first in the East opens up their playoffs versus the team that finishes 8th in the East, 2 versus 7, 3 versus 6, and 4 versus 5. For the plain and simple reason, Crosby says, is that you want to give the team that finished first or that has a better regular season, you want to give them some kind of an advantage. There has to be some kind of a reward. And for Crosby, that's the thing that makes sense. You know what, Jeremy? It's hard to disagree with him. I know what the National Hockey League's trying to do, right? They're trying to create rivalries by having second and third of the same division play each other, because chances are for a cycle of maybe 3, 4, 5 years, they may play each other more often than not. But Crosby's point makes total sense.
I agree with him 100%. But that question was also asked to Bettman on Saturday morning, and he said, it's not as easy as you think. We'd have to rethink the regular season schedule. To tell you the truth, I don't understand what he's talking about. I don't know what the regular season schedule has anything to do with the playoff format. So we were all looking at each other wondering, what is he talking about? But yeah, I mean, again, this year, it looks like it's going to be the Leafs and Lightning in the first round. I don't want to see that matchup in the first round. I want to see that matchup potentially in the second or third round. That would be great. But to have one of those two teams be knocked out in the first round because you can only play interdivision rivals when you finish second or third, it sucks a little bit, I find. But then again, look, the Bruins and Penguins would be playing each other in this format or the 1/8 format. So it doesn't change that much. But at the end, it's, I liked it better the way it was before.
All right. So now, you know what? It's probably not easy what I'm going to ask you. But in a way, it is easy. Why? Because I think we can all agree that the National Hockey League skills competition cannot get worse than what it was this weekend. So, Jeremy Filosa, if I were to ask you to fix it, there's no way you could do worse. Now, you probably don't have the perfect solution. Maybe you do, maybe you don't. But I'll ask you anyway.
Yeah.
What would you do to fix it? So let's take a look at everything you thought that went wrong and try and fix everything that went wrong.
So the first thing I would do, make it shorter. 2 hours max, and it's got to be done. That's the first thing. Second thing, we don't want, time stoppages and stuff like that. It's got to go. I understand you got TV commercials. Get those 3-minute TV commercials in, but then after that, it's got to roll. Let's go, boom, boom, boom. We don't want to hear boring interviews or, these skits that don't work, that nobody finds are funny. So They got to line it up quicker. They got to do it in a shorter period of time. They got to waste less time. And I think that's the one thing you need to – and please don't start something and finish it an hour and a half later when somebody hasn't even watched it. They don't know what you're doing. They don't know when the first part was. When is the second part going to be? So do them in order and away. Let's go. On avance. It's got to be done fast.
There's got to be also, Jeremy, some kind of incentive. I mean, giving the winning team of the tournament, of the game, $1 million check so that they can give to a charity of their choice or the whatever, all that stuff. I mean, it's all fine and dandy that. But there's got to be some incentive knowing that the players are all going to go at 50%. Like, so in baseball, of course, they have the winning conference. You're going to end up hosting the World Series.
Yeah, not anymore. They took that out, but they had that for a while.
Yeah, but there's got to be something.
I mean, what incentive could there be? I'm not really sure. To tell you
know what? I'm not going to say I have the solution because I don't.
Yeah, I don't know what the solution is either. And at the end of the day, I think the fact that these guys are now their own businesses and their agents keep telling them in their ear, just don't get hurt. Whatever you do, this doesn't mean anything. Just, mail it in. We don't care. The only thing that's important is the numbers you put up in the regular season, because that's what turns into money.
I think it was Max Lapierre who said this on Twitter. And if it wasn't him, I apologize. Obviously, I follow Twitter and I read so many people's tweets that I might get confused here. But I think he said that if he was the National Hockey League, maybe something that he would work on is having 2 or 3 players from each team going up against each other. So you might have, Rantanen and McKinnon and Makar going up against Crosby, Malkin, and Letang, for example. But at the same time, every team is not going to have 3 representatives. So, you can't do that either.
You know what I find, Tony? There's one thing also. A lot of star players were missing. You know what I'm saying? You got to take into consideration what guys have done in their career in the past. People want to see some of the stars that have had great careers and now might not be at the top of their form. But that's one thing I find Major League Baseball did very well. They sort of had a veterans committee where, you remember the year where Cal Ripken was invited.
Yes.
And then, he switched positions, I think, with Alex Rodriguez and stuff like that. People want to see those star players. There were a lot of star players that were not there. Jonathan Toews, Patrick Kane, Patrice Bergeron. There's a bunch of guys that should have been there. Big names. And a lot of the young guys that were there, Tony, a lot of people don't know who they are. And it's not that I don't want them there. It's not that I want to do. It's not that I want favoritism, but at the same time, it's an all-star game. You want guys that are stars in this league, known to be stars.
Anyway, bring back that 3-on-3 relay. Bring back a shootout that has some kind of meeting. Bring back slap shots on a goalie from probably about 10 or 12 feet in front of them. Those are just some of the things that you can bring back. All right, okay, Jeremy, you're in Florida. And look, Eric Engels is usually a regular on Monday night. And so some people were probably expecting Eric. And we've shuffled it around a little bit for this week because once again, because Jeremy was in Florida to cover the entire NHL All Star Weekend, and he's there covering CF Montreal's camp, which has moved to Florida for several weeks, I thought it was fitting that Jeremy join us tonight. Eric is going to end up joining us tomorrow night. As for Mapper, who usually joins, any Mapper will join us later on during the week. George Larac will probably join us midweek. And if all goes well, we're going to have someone from the WWE.
Wow.
All right. A professional wrestler join us this week if all goes well. Why? Because the WWE and the Sick Podcast are going to be collaborating. The WWE is going to have 3 events, Jeremy, in Montreal in a couple of weeks from now. The Undertaker is having a one-man show on the Thursday at the Olympia Theater. On the Friday, and not this Friday, but the Friday after, it's going to be WWE SmackDown event at the Bell Center. And on the Saturday, 2 Saturdays from now, it's going to be WWE's Elimination Chamber. So it looks like we're going to be collaborating. And if all goes well, a professional wrestler will be joining us from the WWE between now and then. We very much look forward to that. And if all goes well, we'll be able to give away a couple of tickets as well. Not too shabby, huh? Okay.
So which one of those WWF interviewers did you like the most that you would like to copy if you had to?
Oh, that's
Because right now you look like you're in a position where you could be a Pat Patterson of this world.
Oh, really?
You remember Pat Patterson?
Of course, sir. Le Rêve du Québec.
Yeah, absolutely. He was Vince McMahon's right-hand man for a long, long time in writing scenarios, by the way.
Yeah, no, he was writing storylines, and he was actually, along with Vince, one of the creative geniuses of in the history of the WWF.
Exactly.
That's a good question. I'd have to
Mean
think
Gene.
that one. I'd have to think that one through. Okay, no, not Mean Gene. No, not Mean Gene.
Bobby the Brain Heenan.
No, you know who I liked? Piper's Pit.
Oh, Piper's Pit. Yeah, that was good.
Right? Marinaro has a little bit of Roddy Piper. Does he not?
Yeah.
I think I got a little bit of him.
True.
Who, by the way,
Jerry the King Lauder was number one.
Yeah.
He was it. Oh, yeah. Jerry the King Lauder. He was funny. He was good. Oh, those years were amazing.
Actually, Droll actually says on YouTube Live, Tony is more like Jerry the King Lawler. Okay. Well,
there you go. You need that. You need the hat.
The last time I saw Jerry the King Lawler, okay, I was actually at the event in Montreal, and he had a heart attack right in front of me. You remember that?
I don't remember that.
Yeah, a couple of years ago, Jerry the King Lawler. It was a live show. He passed out right there. Wow. He had a heart attack right in front of me. They came in, they got him, they transported him to hospital. They ended up saving his life. It's one of the scariest things I've ever seen in my life, right? It was luckily he's doing much, much better now. All right, okay. So there goes our WWE talk, and we'll discuss it more later on this week. I want to talk to you about CF Montreal now, very quick. I want to make this, folks. Look,
we're not going to agree on
when the Canadians are playing. It's going to be like a very, very heavy Montreal Canadiens podcast. But when they're not playing and other stuff is going on from Montreal sports teams or athletes from the province of Quebec, we're going to discuss it. CF Montreal had their first day today.
I heard you talking about Kai Kamara on the radio, and I do not agree with you at all with what you said.
Tell me.
You said a lot of well, first of all, you said, Kai Kamara, he made like $6 million in his career playing in the MLS. Don't make me cry. That has nothing to do with anything, man. Can you imagine if you were to go for a job interview in a radio station and you would say, listen, I think I'm worth this much. And they would say, hey, Tony, you've made money in the past. You're good. You don't need that much money. You don't deserve that much money. Listen, in this story with Kai Kamara, both sides are at fault. Big time. Kai Kamara is at fault because he signed a contract for 1 year plus 1 year of option. And to tell you the truth, he does not have the big end of the stick in this deal. It's his problem. He signed that contract.
Correct.
On the other hand, the club knows for a fact that they got maybe the biggest steal in the history of professional sports last year with a player that was making $95,000, maybe double with the bonuses, with the performance he gave you on and off the field. So they were willing and open-minded to reopen his contract. Fine. Good on them. Excellent on them. But Tony, between me
and they didn't have to, by the way, because he signed the club option deal, correct?
Okay, they didn't have to. Okay? Now, between me and you, all right, what's the difference money-wise, because we're talking money here, between what CF Montreal is offering and what Kai Kamara is asking?
So I don't know, but I'm going to guess. But before I do, I want to tell you something. For those who are just watching, right? Kai Kamara is a 38-year-old striker. He's the third leading goal scorer in the history of the MLS. He's been with 10 different MLS teams in the last 18 years. He went on loan to an English team. He also played for another English team. And a couple of years ago, he played in Finland. Last year, he played his first season for CF Montreal. He's been his name has been linked to CF Montreal many, many times in the past. He finally decided to come over at a league minimum of $94,000 US. And I believe he scored something like 9 goals. He came off the bench, and he had a very, very successful season for CF Montreal, making pretty much league minimum. Jeremy, I don't disagree with what you said, even though you disagree with me. I almost agree with pretty much everything you said. Let me just clear something up, okay? For me, The thing that bothers me is I just want real talk, okay? You know as well as I do that Kai Kamara is basically saying this. Hey, Miljevic makes $550,000 a year. Mason Toy makes $550,000 a year. Last year they gave Bourne Johnson $1.2 million a year. I believe that if those salaries are being paid, and I did what I did last year, I'm in that conversation. That's the story, right? Right? That's the story, correct?
Well, I can understand why in that dressing room,
yeah,
it's not. You understand what I'm saying? People are not going to be comfortable when the guy next to you isn't doing a third of what you're doing and is winning 5 times your salary. But at the end of the day,
yes,
he signed that deal, right?
Correct.
But for everything that he brought you on and off the field, before all this BS of going on social media and blah 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 blah, okay? What's the difference between the asking price and what they're offering?
So
is it 100,000?
I don't know this, but I'm going to guess. Okay, I'm going to guess.
Yeah,
I'm going to guess that he's being offered anywhere between $250,000 to $300,000.
Okay,
and I'm willing to guess that he would want double.
He would want double that.
So if I don't know this, for a fact, but I'm willing to guess that if they're offering 3, he wants 6. If they're offering 250, he wants 5. So I would be willing to guess he wants in that range that Miljevic is in, that Hamdi's in, that Mason Toy is in, anywhere between the 500 to 600,000 mark.
So you think this guy signed for 100,000, and now all of a sudden he's saying, "Why don't you take that $100,000 contract that I agreed upon? And why don't you give me 6 times that money?" I don't believe that at all, Tony.
Okay.
Maybe he's asking 400. Maybe he's asking 500. Max,
maybe you're right.
Max. Okay. So at the end, you're about $150,000, $200,000 away. Okay. But with all, and I'm sorry my language here, but all the bullshit that has happened off the field this offseason, do you really, as an organization, want to go through another story like you're going through right now for 100,000, for 200,000? When, like you just mentioned, you have guys that did nothing last year, making 3 times, 4 times that money. No, Tony, if you give this guy $400,000 and he gives you the same season he gave you last year, it's still a bargain. You understand?
Yes, I understand.
It's still a bargain. And you know
understand.
what? If you want to get creative, give him the 1 year and tell him, listen, okay, we'll give you the 400,000 that you want, okay? And for the second year, because you want a second guaranteed year, if you score at least 7 goals, we'll automatically enclencher. What's the word I'm looking for in English? We'll automatically give you the option here. So you know he's going to be hungry. You know he's going to want to produce, okay? And if he does that, you got him for 1 extra year at the same amount of money. Get creative is what I'm saying. You talked about 38 years old, Tony. Nolan Ryan was throwing no-hitters at 45.
I know that.
You understand what I'm saying? 38.
Yeah.
The number means nothing. You could be 32 and be finished. But you could be 45 and still be able to throw no-hitters. That number is irrelevant. As long as you're putting up the performances on the field, I don't give a crap about the age.
Listen, I agree. Jeremy, I agree with a lot of what you're saying.
Put
the challenges
story to bed.
The challenges I have are this, okay? I know that he's negotiating through social media, all right? I got 20 years under my belt. You have the same thing, maybe even a little bit more. You know he's negotiating through social media. Don't come on social media and give me a song and a dance about how much you love Montreal and this and that. And then when I ask him that he's been with 10 MLS teams in the last 18 years, he says that he's been counseled badly. Counseled badly once, twice, 3 times, 4 times, counseled badly 10 times, Jeremy.
No,
he's got the reputation of, he has a good season and he leaves and that's fine. He can do whatever he wants, but just come out and say what it is. Say that based on your performance last year and based on what they pay other players, you belong in that conversation that they're paid. Don't give me all this love story with Montreal and this negotiating through media and trying to make, the team look bad or the GM, the sporting director look bad and this and that, because you're right. It looks terrible on everybody.
It looks terrible.
On everybody.
Terrible. It looks terrible. But Tony, okay, and I understand, and I go back to the point where CF Montreal didn't even have to open renegotiation, and that's a fact. But at the end of the day, Tony, if I appreciate you as a person, and I appreciate you as a host, and I want to keep you with me, and I know that we have a contract, but I know that you deserve a lot more. I'm not going to sit down and say, hey, Tony, here's a new offer, take it or leave it. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to sit down and I'm going to say, Tony, I appreciate everything that you've done for me, and I want you to be happy. Let's talk. How could we find a solution? What do you need? And I'll tell you what we can offer.
There's
and talk. Tony, they haven't talked since October.
I hear you. There's one difference.
What's the problem?
When you're negotiating with Tony, you're negotiating with someone who's loyal to the company that he works for, because the previous company he worked there for 20 years. He didn't switch 10 times in 20 years. You understand what I'm talking about? That's one difference. The other difference is, and this is what bothers me, don't go in front of the media and in front of everyone trying to say that you take to social media, your wife takes to social media, that you know what, you want to move your family here, but you know what, the offer wasn't what I repeat, you made over $6 million US in salary alone, plus bonuses, which leads me to believe that now you're over 8, maybe 9. Plus, you played a year in England. You probably made 8-9 million US, and you're going in front of the media saying, I'd like to bring my family here if they don't give me a better deal. When the deal they probably gave you is $250,000 to $300,000 US. I know a lot of people in Quebec who don't make $250,000 or $300,000 US, and I know a lot of people who haven't made 8 or 9 million US in salary over the course of their professional life. And you know what? They can definitely move their family here, because if they rent a condo in Hochelaga Maisonneuve, which is not too far from the training facility, I'm willing to bet you can get it for less than 2,000 Canadian a month. Am I right? Because you own a condo there. How much does it cost to rent a condo?
Yeah, about 2,000. But
okay, come on, what are we doing here? We're doing a soap opera over a contract. And I agree with you. Sit down, close yourself in the office. When you come to a deal, come out.
Listen, last year, okay, when the salaries came out and we found out he was making $95,000, Tony, the first chance we got to ask him, I asked him about it. And you know what? I could tell in his face, he felt ashamed. He felt humiliated that his salary was revealed. He knew it was going to come out. And I asked him at that moment, I said, I hope for you, with the season you're having already, that there's a pay increase in your second year. And he didn't want to answer at that moment. But, you know, I mean, it's pretty clear he took this deal because he wanted to keep playing. And you're going to say, you know what, nobody else was offering him anything. So it was that, take it or leave it. But listen, I think a player that has offered everything that he's offered in the MLS.
He's had a great career. He's had a great career.
I think,
and the fans love him. I just think he played his cards wrong. That's all.
Okay, I agree with you. But you know what? There's no, they're both to blame. And when he was asked specifically the question, Olivier Renard is right here. Why aren't you talking to him? And he said, well, that's not the way it works. Yeah, but it also doesn't work negotiating through social media, right? He's right there. And Olivier Renard mentioned that the contract with Victor Wanyama came on the table. How? They sent each other a text message to wish each other Happy New Year. And via text message, they started talking, and it led to a deal. So it can't hurt to go talk directly to the general manager and see what he's thinking and put this thing to bed once and for all. Because this thing, Tony, here's the offer, take it or leave it. Camacho took it, but he didn't like that attitude. Wanyama took it, but he didn't like that tone either. You understand what I'm saying?
I'll tell you what I think's happening here. I'll tell you what I think's happening. I think Olivier Renard probably doesn't like the way Kai Kamara went about it.
Absolutely.
You remember Marc Bergevin?
100% right.
Remember Marc Bergevin and Andrei Markov?
Yeah.
Marc Bergevin appreciated Andrei Markov, the player, and what he brought to the Canadiens and what he was able to bring. But the negotiations went a little bit sour because of the way they were handled and the way they played itself out. Maybe that could be holding this thing up a little bit. Okay.
I understand, Tony, but for the good of the team. For the good of the team, put your egos aside, settle this freaking thing.
Yeah.
That's all I can say.
One more thing. Press release went out, or a statement went out on Friday. They changed their logo. We know that. A new jersey was supposed to come out, and now it looks like one of the jerseys is not going to come out. You want to elaborate on this?
Well, listen, what happened, it's not complicated. In the MLS, when you have a new jersey that's going to come out, you got to prepare it 2 years ahead of time. Adidas asks for 2 years notice. All right. So this jersey that they were supposed to wear in 2023 was designed by the former president, Kevin Gilmore. When the new president came in, Gervais looked at the jersey and said, I don't like it. I don't like it. And then also on top of that, there was also a scripture that was written in a native language. And the team was not comfortable just going out there and having this inscription because they said, we haven't made any significant moves or anything to try and get close to the native community. So why would we have this now? It would be smarter to try and have some links with them, ask them their opinion, and then proceed. At this moment, they were not comfortable. That being said, when Gervais came in last spring, he contacted Adidas and said, listen, we're going to want to make some changes to the jersey. Adidas said, we don't know if we're going to be able to get it for you on time. And, the more the time passed and the more they found themselves in a situation where they were not going to get the jersey on time, every other team is releasing their jersey mid-February. CF Montreal will not have their jersey. Hopefully they will have it by the summer. But listen, Tony, this goes back again. If you go back 2 years ago when this whole rebrand was introduced and fans said, we don't like it, we don't want it. If you proceed the same way as the Columbus Crew and the Chicago Fire did when they did their rebrand and fans said, no, we don't want it. A week later, they went back on their decision. That was the end of it. Yeah. But no, like they say in Italian, cocciadura.
Yeah, they were stubborn about it. They were stubborn about it.
Stubborn. We still don't understand for the life of us why till this day they refuse to go back on that decision, and it's still biting them in the ass today, 2 years later. Yeah, and it's their own fault. That's
too bad because it's been one storyline after another, from the coach leaving to the Kai Kamara situation to this now with the jersey. Put it this way, they just didn't need this at this time, right? It's kind of like it was just one too many. But anyway, they're in Florida. Their camp is resumed in Florida. They're going to be there for several weeks. They're going to play, I believe, 3 preseason games in Florida before opening up their season. 4 preseason games.
4.
Yeah, they're playing. Yeah, they're playing versus university team, and then they're going to be playing. Yeah. So what are they playing? They're playing on the 8th, I believe, and they're playing on
Wednesday, Saturday.
Yeah,
so the next Wednesday, Saturday, and then they have a full week before they start against Inter Miami, and the game will be here in Miami. They will not be coming back to Montreal before that first game. They will be staying around here. So there will not be a fan fest or anything like that. I got to say, Tony, to tell you the truth, they had a new marketing director come in last year, and I want to give the person time to work. But honestly, Tony, the schedule, the season is starting in less than 3 weeks. Have you seen anything anywhere in Montreal that's telling us that the soccer season is about to start soon?
No.
Honestly, I mean, come on. How patient do people have to be? I mean, they're nowhere. They're nowhere to be seen. I'm reading Claude Raymond's book right now, the former Expo pitcher. Yeah. And he explains in the book, he spent day in and day out, Monday to Friday, every day of December, every day of January, going around Quebec with other teammates, signing autographs, giving clinics. They worked their asses off back then to get people to notice them. The impact does none of that. Zero. It's so sad.
Jeremy, great hit tonight again on the Sick Podcast. Much appreciated. We'll talk to you soon. I love this guy. I want to know why. You could tell, like, he gives everything that he has. He puts all his heart and soul into it. And that's why he's not only a collaborator on the show, I'm happy to say he's one of my best friends in the world. Jeremy, Have a good night.
Thank you, Tony. I appreciate it.
All
See
right,
you
there
soon.
you have it,
Ciao,
Jeremy
ciao.
Filosa. All right. A shout out to Playground, who has over 600 machines, poker tournaments, and Playground casino games, daily promotions, and unmatched customer service. Why go anywhere else? Located just over the Mercier Bridge, only minutes from downtown Montreal. And now we're talking sports cards.
Sick Sports Cards. Presented by Sports La Tornade.
Sports Cards is presented by Sport La Tornade, sports cards, collectibles, and more. Visit the store at 1 Avenue de la Fabrique in Vaudreuil-Dorion. If you're liking the podcast, by the way, and you're watching on Facebook or you're watching on YouTube or you're watching on Twitter, share it with your friends. Hit the like button, message SICK, S-I-C-K. And if tomorrow you're going to be listening to this on audio on Google or Spotify or Apple, leave us a 5-star review. We had a couple, and it made us very, very happy. A couple recently. How you doing, Chris?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Very, very good. Thank you very much. Okay. We're talking sports cards, and we haven't talked about them in a while. Probably a good 10 days or so. What products were hot, and what products are to come?
So, we like to do a little recap here, mid-season review. So since the beginning of the year, this year, because of COVID, there's been a little bit of a mix because of products being behind. So not all the 21-22 products are out yet, and we're seeing some of the 22-23 products come out. So I'm just going to fire off a few products that have come out for this year's 2022-23. So the season always starts off with the MVP, which is lower good for the kids type of card. We move up to the Series 1, which is the most popular, where we had the Matty Benier's Young Guns card with the Boldy, the Rossi. Artifacts is another type of card box that's come out. That one came out in the last 2 weeks. A lot of numbered cards, a lot of jersey cards, patches in that one. Get some legendary names in there, a little bit of older players. A little bit different than the Series 1. And
are
then,
those going to carry any value, Chris? The ones with some of the older players?
Yeah, absolutely. So some of the guys. So what I'm seeing a lot of now is Gretzky. Gretzky's signing more now than he ever did.
Oh, really? Why?
Yeah. I don't know. They have. He's got an upper deck contract. He's signing every year. There's a new release. Gretzky's signing more and more, which is not necessarily a good thing for the value of his cards.
I was just going to ask that, Chris, and say if there's more Gretzky autographs out there, doesn't bring down the value of those cards, because now all of a sudden they're not scarce. There's too many of them.
Absolutely. So do you remember I showed you that Gretzky 1-of-1 card I had at my store?
Yeah.
It was sold this year. And the value of that card has gone down just because that same product will come out next year in 23-24, and there'll probably be another 1-of-1 Gretzky. So if they do that every year, then that hurts the value of the other ones, right? So that's the way the market works a bit. So this past week there was Synergy, another product that's, I want to say, medium tier, that has a lot of signatures and stuff.
Chris, if you don't mind being ignorant in the domain that is player cards, okay? Synergy, is this its own company, or is this like a brand within an actual company? You know what I mean? Is Synergy like an Upper Deck, or it's like within an Upper Deck type of thing? How does this work?
Okay, so all these series that I've mentioned, MVP, Series 1, Artifacts, Synergy, all Upper Deck.
They're all Upper Deck. Perfect.
Okay, so now Upper Deck is the exclusive with the NHL. They have the rights. So basically everything that's sold out of my store will be with Upper Deck, that I have the Upper Deck license. There is certain products that do come out that I don't necessarily hold, but there is some other in the game. I don't know if you've heard of them before. They were around for a long time. There's Pinnacle. There's other companies, but you don't see them you don't see them as often anymore. People stick with Upper Deck.
Okay, real good. If you have any questions, by the way, for Chris, you can put them out there on YouTube Live or Twitter Live or Facebook Live. And I know that Agnello and Sammy and Master Control, if you want to bring some up, I'll ask Chris some of the questions because, Chris, this is a popular segment with our viewers, of course. I mean, once you come on, they have all kinds of questions for me. And I'm like, you know what? Just ask them to Chris. Don't ask them to me.
No problem.
In the meantime, you know, who's disappointed this year? When we take a look at cards,
yeah,
does it kind of work like a stock market, like a stock going up and a stock going down type of thing? And is there a card that in the last year, for example, last 365 days, 300 days ago, it was at its high and it's gone down now to its low? Is there one like that that comes to mind?
Absolutely. Like if I, and I'm sure you know who they are. I mean, you can, if you know, like you say, the stock market, and you know who was hot last year and who's not this year. I can even throw a hint out there. You know, someone who got traded this offseason is not playing very well in his new team. He's not fitting in very well.
Huberto.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
That was you read my mind. So
I am Montreal Sports Authority. I have been for the last 20 years. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Perfect. Huberto is top of my list on that one. Just maybe next year he'll fit in better. It's his first year with the new team. But
on the flip side, has Matthew Tkachuk's value gone up?
Matthew Tkachuk is, I don't want to say it went up, but it didn't go down.
Okay.
So, one guy that I was surprised to see go down actually is Moritz Seider. I expected a bit more from him. He's come on as of late, but he has gone down also.
What are we talking about? Because I believe his rookie card was a couple of $100. I actually brought it up to Joe Valeno, and I said, should I buy Moritz Seider's rookie card? And he said, yes, you should. Obviously, he's biased. He's a teammate of his, but I really like the guy. What are we looking at for his rookie card?
Okay, so I last time we talked, I still remember this. The Moritz Seider Young Guns PSA 10 was over $200, between $200 and $225. Right now, you can probably pick one up for about $150.
I want one. You have one?
Yeah, I do have.
Okay, I'll buy one tomorrow.
Yeah, for sure. So I have one. So other deceptions.
That's a PSA 10, eh?
That's a PSA 10. Yeah.
Okay.
So other deceptions, obviously, the 2020 draft. We all know first overall, Lafreniere.
Yeah.
So his cards have continued to pummel and just go down and down and down.
What are we looking at?
Well, there's people that spent thousands and thousands of dollars investing in this kid when he was drafted.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah. Some people started personal collections of Lafreniere, and now they're just dumping. So I want to say his rookie card, Young Guns, just a normal, without being graded, around the $400 mark when it came out, $400 or $500 when it first came out. And I saw some selling this week for $60.
I want that too. Is that a PSA 10?
No, that was ungraded, but a PSA 10 is not going to cost you that much more. He's as low as he's going to go right now. Okay, so a PSA 10 is under $100? No, it would be a bit over $100. It would be under $200 though. Oh, it would be under $200. Okay. Well, that's yeah, well that's is it worth it? Okay, let's just say the ungraded is 60 and the PSA 10 is 180, for example. Yeah. Is it worth the price difference? It is. It is definitely. I definitely always like the slabs and go with the PSA 10 or like a tag 10, a different grading company. But with the thing with Lafreniere is you kind of hope that he goes to a different market and just lights it up and gets a fresh start somewhere. I think he scored the winner in overtime tonight, by the way. Oh, I didn't see that. But I'm not sure about that, but I think I read that somewhere because when the game was ending, I was going on. And let me just confirm that to you if I can here. And they won 5-4 in overtime, and Alexis Lafreniere scored a 137 of overtime. The New York Rangers beat the Calgary Flames by a score of 5-4. So there's another one. Calgary Flames. I mean, Nazem Kadri has not has not been up to par. He hasn't. So I think one of his card has gone down significantly also.
He went down too tonight. He got pummeled by Jacob Trouba. All right,
Yeah.
why don't we do this? Agnello and Sammy and Master Control, my best buddies in the whole world. Can you bring up a couple of questions for Chris Latournade? This coming in from Chris Bergeron. What's a McDavid marquee rookie card's basic worth?
The basic marquee rookie McDavid, it's less than $100. You're probably looking around $50 to $100 in there for the base. Yeah, with the marquee rookies, there's different variations. So if you get, say, like a sunset or a different color one that's a little bit more rare, but if you're really talking about the basic one, it's it's not going to be over 100.
What's the best McDavid rookie card valued at right now?
So we're going to look at the cup 2015-16, the cup McDavid rookie card. I'm going to say probably in the 20,000 range or so.
I have a very good friend of mine who's a collector of NHL memorabilia and whatever, whatever he can get his hands on. But specifically, or in particular, or mostly, Connor McDavid. And his collection of Connor McDavid whatever, including cards, is in excess of $300,000.
Yeah, I believe it.
Yeah. And and he's got them in his vault.
Yeah.
And I go over to his house all the time, and I know where the vault is, but unfortunately, I've never been able to crack it open.
So,
but he's and look, if there's one guy that you want to invest on, that's the guy, right?
Well, what I tell everybody that comes into the store, everyone that comes in the store and looks at anything that's Connor McDavid, they said, "Oh, I wish I would have collected in 2015-16. I should have collected. I shoulda. But they didn't, and now they're seeing the prices, how high they are right now. But I let them he's one of the only players that I think right now, even though as high as he is, he's not at his highest point, and he will continue to grow. This guy's going to break records. This guy scores. He's 4 or 5 points a game. He's on pace for 70 some goals this year.
It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. And he's getting better at goals, right? So he's still, like you said, he's still getting better at his game. Why don't we do this? It is 11:04, but I want to get you excited about tomorrow night's show as well. So I can't give you too much tonight. But why don't we take 3 more questions for Chris Latournade? 3 more. Here's the first one. When is Slavkovsky's Young Gun card being released, and how much does Chris think it'll be worth early on?
Okay, so Series 2 is supposed to be out usually mid-February. I think it's been pushed back a little bit, maybe into March.
Okay.
I don't have the exact date, but I'm going to say between mid-February and mid-March, Series 2 will be out. Slavkovsky Young Guns will be there. His injury probably has an impact on how much that card's going to be worth when it comes out. But I'm still thinking, because he's in Montreal, big market, he's the #1 draft pick overall, I'm going to say the day it comes out, it's going to start around $200. Now,
wow. That's yeah.
It's a bit
steep. If I were to buy that card and I was in Florida, I'd probably pick up that card for half the price in Florida. Less. You're
not less than half the price. Because the cards, when they're sold on eBay, it's all over the world. So you'll still have to say the seller on from Florida is going to put it on eBay at $200. But
okay, I got it.
But I'm talking $200 on the day it comes out. After that, every day after that, it will start to come down.
I hear you.
Right now, so that's hurting him right now.
2 more.
Yeah.
GSM, what's the best Mario Lemieux card worth?
So now Mario Lemieux's a bit like Gretzky.
What a player.
Of the new cards right now. So his rookie, there's cards now that they have signed Mario Lemieux 1/1s that are surpassing, say, his rookie card. But to say what the absolute top card of Mario Lemieux is, It's something you kind of have to look up, like eBay or something like that. But it's probably kind of like your friend, where it could be in the hundreds of thousands if you have this treasure special edition 1-of-1 Mario Lemieux. But it's such a broad hobby that it could be anywhere from 100,000 to 200,000. It's a big range.
Last one for tonight. Which Habs player has the most value?
Right now, bar none, Cole Caulfield. Cole Caulfield by right now is like selling. I could sell 5 per day. Even being injured, and the injury has impacted his value. Went down maybe like on his PSA 10, maybe went down $100 since he's been injured. But by far the most asked about is Caulfield, and
what are we looking at?
Suzuki would be second. Caulfield for PSA 10, $600.
$600 for a PSA 10.
Yeah, you know what? It went down a bit. You might get one at $550 now, but
okay,
it was at $700. And if he comes back next year, scores 40 goals, it could go back up again. So,
Chris is at Sport La Tornade, 1 Avenue de la Fabrique in Vaudreuil-Dorion. You want to give out your number?
Yeah, so you can call the store anytime, 450-218-3133. I will be there until Wednesday. Thursday, I'm leaving for California. I'm going to the Burbank Card Show in California, so I'll be there all weekend. So, it's going to be fun.
Oh, good. If you have a chance to pick up a LeBron James rookie card for like $10, I'd like to have one, please.
Well, the LeBron James, and let's not forget right now the Patrick Mahomes and Jalen Hurts right now are hot.
But LeBron James is on the cusp of breaking the record right over the next couple of days here. So his card, what's LeBron James's rookie card worth? Off the top of your head,
was coming. It it's fluctuated so much right now. I can't even keep track of it. It's gone insane.
Wow.
I don't know. There's so many different sets that it's hard to put what set are you talking about? Like I hear you. So it's tough to put a number on that.
Okay. I'll call you tomorrow about more cider. We'll talk soon.
All right. Thanks, Tony.
All right. There you have it. Chris from Sport La Tornade. I'm Marinaro. This is the Sick Podcast. We go Monday to Friday. We go at 10 p.m. Eastern. We talk Habs. Tonight we talk CF Montreal. We talk a little bit of sports cards as well. We're going to have a WWE wrestler if all goes well over the next week or so. We're talking about it all. We're getting sicker and sicker by the day. Tell your friends about it. It's an ongoing community. It is the Sick Army. Join the Sick Army. It's absolutely free by subscribing our YouTube. Tell your friends about it. Say, folks, this podcast and this host is sick. Who is that guy again? Who am I? I'll tell you who I am. Hey, Mosey, too. I'm Marinaro. Have a great night.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast with Tony Marinaro on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts. The Sick Podcast is brought to you by Energy Transportation Group, driven to be different. Bittt, embrace your true nature. And La Cage. If the last time you went to La Cage was when the Habs won the cup, it's time you went back to La Cage. The menu will surprise you.